Welcome agents, Title Update 5 is coming out next Tuesday the 23rd of July, and there's quite a lot of changes coming, so I thought it would be worth talking about how you might prepare for this update. If you enjoy this or find this helpful, please hit the like button below and subscribe for dedicated Division content. With that said, let's get into it. So, first and foremost, by far the biggest change coming to Title Update 5 are the skills, which have universally been buffed, among other things. Now, what is very clear from the PTS and the demonstrations we've seen of some of the new skills like the Explosive Seeker Mine, Turret, Cluster Seeker Mines, is that skills are probably going to be the new meta in Title Update 5, even though the devs have said normal firepower, i.e. using weapons, will still be the best sustained damage in the game. Now, if you didn't know, because you've been away from the game for some time, skills are being buffed to almost the same DPS power as a P416 essentially. This was used as the high ceiling, and then they took the DPS from all the skills and they pushed it up to there or thereabouts in respect of that DPS. So with that in mind, I highly recommend you start farming for gear, and instead of disregarding skill talents now, save them in your stash because they're going to be very, very important in Title Update 5. You are going to want to make a skill build. Now, here are the majority of the talents to look for on gear. We've got Skilled. This is skill kills have a 35% chance to reset skill cooldowns, so that's going to be very, very strong, although that might not mean a whole lot if you manage to get your cooldowns to a ridiculously low figure. If you get your cooldowns to 3 to 5 seconds or something, then maybe skilled isn't going to be that important because, you know, 35% of 3% is not a whole lot. We've then got tech support. Kills by active skills grant 25% or plus 25% skill damage for 10 seconds. This could be very, very strong, especially if you've got two offensive skills like a turret or mines, for example. We've got Terminate. Depleting an enemy's armor grants plus 35% skill damage for 15 seconds. I mean, this is going to be very good against high-end high-end bosses and stuff like that. I mean, red bars, they don't have any armor. Purple bar enemies are probably going to get one shot if you've built your skills properly. Certainly if you're running something like Seeker Mines, like Explosive Seeker Mines, then they're probably going to get one shot, so you're not going to get any benefit out of this. But if you're doing like raid material where the enemies are obviously going to be a lot stronger, then this could actually be really, really strong, because most of the time from Seeker Mines, certainly you are going to be removing that armor, which would give 35% skill damage for 15 seconds, which from my understanding only then applies to another skill that you might use. It doesn't actually apply to the skill that you are currently or has done. That is my understanding of it. You guys have to let me know if I'm wrong about that. So essentially with that, again, you're going to need two offensive skills there. We then got Calculated. Kills from cover reduce skill cooldowns by 20%. Again, this is, I have to say, this is probably one of the best there is. But again, just like Skilled, is having plus 20% or 20% skill cooldown that important? It could be. It's situational. If you have got enough skill haste within TU5 that you've got your Seeker Mines down to 5 seconds for skill cooldowns, then really this is not going to add a whole lot, really. So maybe you'd go for something else. But generally, this is one of the strongest talents there is for skills, so it's really, really good. And also, you are going to be in cover for most of the time, so running something like this with Patience, for example, which is going to give you that armor back whilst being in cover, those two together synergize very, very well. We then got On the Ropes. Weapon damage is increased by 25% while all skills are on cooldown. It's not so much the same. This isn't actually, I thought I would just include this one because it's a skill based talent, but on reflection, actually, I don't think it's worthy of this list, so just ignore that one. We then got Capacitive, which is plus 20% skill duration. Destructive, which is plus 20% explosive damage. Surge, which is plus 10% skill haste. And then we've got Empowered as well, which is plus 10% skill power. So yeah, those are just sort of flat, you are getting this talents, basically. Now, on top of the skill changes, there has been considerable changes to cooldown reduction, which will be changed to skill haste. And the base value has been increased by 25%. Initially, I believe it was 33%, but I've checked through the PTS notes. It's saying 25%, but maybe we'll have to wait until the proper notes come out for this. So I'm going to say 25% for now. Now, skill haste is going to be very important in Title Update 5, with the devs confirming it will be entirely possible for you to create a build which allows for a 3 to 5 second cooldown on cluster seeker mines, for example. In the current live game, i.e. Title Update 4, there is actually a minimum that you can get down to. You can't get lower than 10 seconds as a minimum cooldown. Well, that's actually been removed for TU5. It's going to go down to 3 seconds, and mathematically speaking, you can get down to around that figure, and I'm sure someone will, so that's going to be interesting. With this in mind, I would highly recommend you store any piece of gear which has high cooldown reductions, or soon to be skill haste, and gear with a lot of skill power generally. You're going to be wanting to push between 2400 and 3000k skill power when TE5 comes out in order to get the maximum amount out of your skill builds. Now, on top of this, brand sets like China Light will be strong, giving you that 10% explosives damage in Title Update 5. The cooldown reduction as well on this particular piece of gear is changed to 30% skill haste, so that's the third talent on China Light. China Light's going to be pretty strong. Explosive damage and cooldown reduction. It's going to be really good. Alp Summit will have its one piece plus 10% skill haste changed to plus 20% as well. So you can imagine you have 3-piece China Light. You've got yourself 1-piece Alps there, and you're looking at 50% skill haste with explosives damage, and that doesn't even include any of the talents that you can put on or mods. Now, before we finish, the skill section it's worth noting that the skill haste has been doubled on all skill haste mods. So you're going to want to stay on the lookout for those too. They're going to be very important, and I suspect the majority of your skill haste is going to come from these sources, meaning that you should be able to push the skill haste upwards of 100, 150%, somewhere like that. And somewhere like the cluster seeker mines or the explosive seeker mine, being what the devs say as the certainly the highest burst damage skill in the game, are going to be very strong. And I believe you're going to be able to push that cooldown down to about 3 to 5 seconds, which, when you consider explosive seeker mines that are one-shotting enemies, you're going to do very well there. So yeah, highly recommend you keep a lookout for skill haste mods or cooldown reduction mods. They might be called now. I'm not totally sure. I assume they're cooldown reduction mods at the moment, and they're going to be changed to skill haste mods. Highly recommend you look out for those, because again, they're going to be very important as well going into TU5. Now, I appreciate I spent a whole lot of time there on skills, because they are pretty much the main and only thing that's really getting a massive change in TU5. Now, with Title Update 5, there are changes to the crafting bench. You'll now be able to upgrade the crafting station to gear score 500. Now, in order to do this, you will be required to have a 490 gear score gun, a gear score 490 gear piece, and materials. And like with any and all updates, I'd recommend you stock up on materials, because the chances are you're going to be using them very quickly. The material cap has been changed from 400 to 600, I believe. So you just want to get up to 400, and then when it comes out, you're going to want to push that up to 600. And on that note, I'd highly recommend you just start collecting gear and dismantling it. Well, not dismantling it, sorry. Collecting gear and selling it, getting those credits. Because the chances are, when Title Update 5 comes out, you're probably going to be storing a lot of gear, especially skill-based gears and guns and stuff. You're going to be wanting to store in all that stuff, and you're going to be wanting to make some really good skill builds. Maybe you're going to make more than a couple. And with that, you're going to want to spend a lot of credits and a lot of materials. I don't really want to put my opinion in this video about what I want to see, but I really hope that with TU5 they would have reduced the amount of materials and credits it costs to actually recalibrate. But as of right now, that's not been done, so it is going to cost a lot. So it's going to be worth saving up. I know you can only save up to 400 in materials at the moment, so you can't do a whole lot about that. But certainly with the credits, you're going to want to save those up as much as possible. If, like me, you've played the game a lot, then you probably got a lot. Although I actually don't have a lot, because I just end up recalibrating at the moment anyway. But a lot of you guys will have a lot of credits, so this might not apply. But material-wise, they're going to go quickly. There's not a lot you can do. Just save up to the maximum for now. So moving on, and I've not played the PTS or the new missions, but I have it on good authority that there are a lot of faction caches within these missions. So I'd recommend you farm the faction keys by entering the sewers in the open world. These are scattered everywhere, and they're pretty easy to come by. All you got to do is open up your map, find a sewer, you can see how it connects, and just go into those sewers and you'll see them on the walls, the faction keys and stuff. You just collect as many faction keys as possible, because you're gonna, from what I can tell, you're gonna need them, because as I said, there is quite a lot there. Now, if you are unsure where to go, there are some really good videos here on YouTube by other content creators. I've not done one myself, so I'm going to promote other content creators here who have farming runs for this stuff. I'd highly recommend you go check one of those out once this video has ended, because there's a few there that are really, really useful, and it just points you in the right direction if you're unsure as to where to get these faction keys from. Alright, so aside from that, there's not a lot more you can do for Title Update 5 to prepare for it. Skills really are the only thing to change significantly, and as I said before, I suspect they're going to be the new meta, which I am excited for, because I don't remember the last time we had, even in the Division 1, I don't remember the last time we had a skill-based meta, which is what I'm expecting with Title Update 5, although I've not actually seen much of the PTS at all. I didn't go on the PTS, I've not tested anything, I'm simply going what other people are saying. Shotguns are going to be nerfed a little bit in TU5, time to kill is going to be reduced actually as well in TU5, certainly in PvP, and skills are going to dominate. So that's why I've pretty much centered this whole video about skills, because it's pretty much the only thing that's changing, and it's going to dominate in the next update. Aside from that, there's not a lot you can do. Just do what you do normally. And yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, drop a like. It does help me out if this was helpful. Brilliant. Drop a like, maybe leave a comment. All of your interactions on my video are really, really helpful, guys. And I really appreciate all of your support. With that said, though, I hope you all have a good weekend. And until the next one, Epic out.